Welcome to video number 1 of the Writing e-course video series. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited, and I hope that you can find something that will help your story progress and become better along the way. So first off, our first video, we are addressing the log line, or you might call it a premise statement, or lastly, maybe you've heard it called an elevator pitch. So basically, imagine you're in a building with a bunch of agents and you get on the elevator and your dream agent is standing right there. And they say, I hear you're writing a book. What's your book about? Well, that's your elevator pitch. You have only a couple minutes at best to explain in one, maybe 2 sentences what your story is about. And it has to be enough to garner their attention and to make them say, oh, please send me your pages. So obviously, this isn't going to happen for most of us. Most of us don't live in New York in the publishing industry. Most of us won't run into agents in an elevator, but it helps us conceptualize the idea of the log line or premise. So there are 6 things that you're going to want to try to incorporate in your log line or premise to make it strong and intriguing and land that agent of your dreams should you ever arrive in an elevator or query or have an opportunity to just share your book with family and friends. 1, you need a protagonist. A protagonist, simply put, is your main character, is the person that we're all rooting for, is the person whose point of view your story is written in. A protagonist for a logline doesn't necessarily need a name, but it does need a description. So we can get a feel as the audience or the agent or whoever, who we are to root for, what this story or who this story is about. Examples of a protagonist in a description would be a young FBI agent. That kind of gives us an idea that they're inexperienced. Or maybe it's a feisty widow. So what that does is it says, okay, well, she's experienced loss, but yet she's still got some kind of gumption going on. So that's intriguing. You want to give your character something, some kind of identifying factor without naming them. Because if I was to say, my character Taylor, that doesn't mean anything to anyone. Who is she or he? So it's really important with your protagonist that you're clear, concise as far as her personality or his personality traits, and that you can label them right off the bat to give the reader or the agent. 2 is extremely simple. What is your protagonist's goal? What is it they're trying to accomplish? Are they trying to save the world? Are they trying to cure an illness? There are many different goals, and every book almost has a different one. And they may be wrapped around multiple different stepping stones along the way, but what is the one thing that your protagonist wants and is working towards throughout the entire stretch of your novel? Like all good stories, we must have opposition. Opposition is often referred to as the antagonist or the antagonistic force. So an antagonist would just be another person, whereas an antagonistic force might be a whole government or something that is against your protagonist, that's opposing him or her along the way to reaching their goal. 4, for me, this is the most important part of your logline or premise statement. If you want someone to be interested, they need to know and need to have a clear idea of the stakes. What is it the protagonist might lose should she not reach her goal? Should things fall apart? Should the antagonist win? What is it that they will lose in the end? These are called the stakes. We need to make sure they are very clear, because if they're not any stakes worth caring about, then nobody will care about your story. Number 5. This is for my sci-fi and fantasy people. Usually, most books don't require this, but in some cases, you might require a little bit of setup. Are we in a different world? Are we in some kind of galaxy? For those places, you may need to set them up, but a little bit of warning. Don't say in the galaxy of, and name the galaxy. Make sure you explain it in a way that's not only conducive to your book. So a name of a country or a region that you've made up means nothing to me, but a description, once again, similar to that of the protagonist, or a word like kingdom gives me more of an idea about the setup or the situation behind the story that's about to take place. Number 6, these are just things that I advise every logline or premise that you write to be clear, concise, and not overly crowded with details. It's really easy to get into our story and to try to just spill out everything all at once, but in an elevator, for a logline or premise statement, you really don't have that much time. And you need to make sure that your story is clear so that I can have a good idea, so that an agent can have a good idea. If you're not clear, how am I supposed to be clear? How is an agent supposed to be clear? So make sure that you keep it short and brief and that you know what your story is about. Really quickly, here is a really great example of a logline or premise that's catching and that uses many of the things that we've discussed today. And let's see if you can guess the movie before I tell you. A young FBI cadet must confide in a manipulative, convicted killer to receive his help on catching another serial killer who skins his victims. Any guesses? Silence of the Lambs. It's very clear, it's short, but we see not only a protagonist, we see an antagonist, we see the stakes, and there's clearly a goal. All these things are incorporated, and it's one sentence. One sentence. It's enough to entice any agent. Don't give up despite how challenging this may seem. A logline or premise is not only important for you to know the clear aspects of your own story, but it's important to entice agents or publishers or friends and family to read your book. So make sure you know what it's about so that you can share it with others. I hope this helped, and I'll see you for video number 2. Happy writing!